Welcome back, you guys. My name is Sarah. I am known as Carnivore Yogi over on Instagram. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel and clicking on today's video. Today, I'm going to give my top reasons why I think people are failing at the carnivore diet. Now, if you missed part 1, make sure you go to the Vlogmas playlist. I'll pop a little eye up in the corner because I think it's very, very important to go at the very top of this list as to why I'm seeing a lot of people fail on the carnivore diet. So make sure you watch that one. I will also link it below this video. Before I get started in this, my disclaimer, I am not a doctor, nutritionist, or expert, so this is just, kind of my personal experience here on the carnivore diet, as well as talking to thousands of people over the last 2 years over on Instagram and YouTube. So this is what I'm seeing. You may see something totally different or have a completely different experience, and that is okay, I promise. So number 1 at the top of my list, why you're failing at the carnivore diet. Number 1, you're not eating enough. I see far too many people coming to the carnivore diet and trying to calorie restrict, trying to have their number 1 goal be weight loss. Now, you can lose weight on the carnivore diet. You can lose weight on any diet. There will be certain advantages to doing a carnivore diet for your health, in that it might, as long as you do it optimally for you, help you to optimize your hormones, which weight loss is a hormonal process. Lower your insulin and just feel better all over with less aches and pains. But if you come in and immediately try to calorie restrict, it is a no-go. It is not a good idea. You're gonna set yourself up for failure. You might binge, or you might see your hormones kind of go into the toilet. So you might, downregulate your thyroid, which will make your body burn off less energy. So just something to consider. The next point is kind of on the same lines as the first one, is that either you're fasting too much or you're fasting too soon, or that fasting is just something that your body doesn't necessarily need to be doing at this point in time. Now, I'm not against fasting for everyone, but I did have an experience myself where the fasting eventually I was overdoing it. It was too much of a stressful event for my body to handle. I lost my monthly cycle, my hormones all tanked, and I wasn't feeling good. And it just became very stressful for me to try to fast all the time. So if you are going to fast, I always tell people, get fat adapted first. Make sure that you're really in ketosis. Make sure that you are running on fat for fuel, and don't rush it. Don't try to fast when you're going through adaptation, when you're switching over from eating, the body running on glucose versus body running on ketones. So in layman's terms, eating carbs versus not eating carbs. It is a stressful event for your body to make that switch over. And you may also be going through some detox, like detoxing from carbs, withdrawing from carbs and sugar, because your body's trying to make that metabolic switch. So trying to throw a bunch of fasting in on top of that could be too stressful for your body. And I see people end up failing, end up binging, end up, feeling like crap if they try to do the fasting either too soon or just too much, just like way overdoing it. You don't have to fast to do carnivore diet. It's not a requirement. A lot of people do find that it's easier for them to do that because they become fat adapted, so they can go longer without having those blood sugar swings, but it's not a requirement. So just want to throw that out there. The next thing, number 3, is along the same lines of number 2, is that you're not in ketosis and you need to be. Does everyone need to be in ketosis when they do carnivore? I don't know. I know for me, it became very important along the way. And when my body was constantly relying on gluconeogenesis, I started to not feel well, my sleep was disrupted, and it caused a cascade of other issues, blood sugar dysregulation. And I have seen a lot of people have blood sugar dysregulation on the carnivore diet, especially if they are eating more protein than their body actually needs. I did do a whole video on how to figure out your personal protein threshold on the carnivore diet, but this is a big mistake and we don't talk about it enough in the community. A lot of people, and they will argue with me, I'm sure, in the comments, say gluconeogenesis is not a problem, it's not something you need to worry about. And maybe some people don't, but if you are not feeling well, not feeling optimal, waking up a lot at night, very tired after meals, and you measure your ketones and they're consistently not really above a 0.5 or even lower than that, and your blood sugar constantly runs, 90s, 100, it never really dips below that, fasted in the morning, then that may be something that you want to look at, that your body is relying too much on gluconeogenesis and not enough on ketones. So that is something where I see people really having trouble and issues and end up giving up and quit altogether. The next thing I want to bring up is no electrolytes, or not minding your electrolytes. Now, if you take away carbohydrates, I've talked about this a million times in my other videos, for every gram of carbohydrate that you eat, your body holds on to about 3 grams of water. Now that's debatable, but let's just think of it this way. The carbohydrates help your body hold on to those minerals a bit easier, your sodium, potassium, magnesium. So when you have taken the carbohydrates out of your diet, especially during adaptation, you're gonna wanna make sure that you're getting enough sodium to start with. So getting like a Redmond's real sea salt or a Celtic sea salt, starting with at least a teaspoon per day. Some people are gonna need way more than a teaspoon per day, but really making sure that you are not losing all of your minerals due to being on a low or no carbohydrate diet. So there is a big salt debate in the carnivore community. I'm staying out of it. What I am saying is that you need to know for yourself if you are running low on those electrolytes, and it is a lot more important on a carnivore diet to make sure you're minding those electrolytes. Now, I have done a couple of hair mineral tests, and I'm going to do more of them just to keep mind on my electrolytes. So I will link a hair mineral test below this video if that is something that you're interested in doing, and then making sure that you have some guidance with what to do after that hair mineral test. I always recommend my dear friend Nutrition with Judy, because just because you're low on something on a hair mineral test doesn't mean you need to just like start pouring it down your throat. It could be an adrenal issue, it could be a thyroid issue or a gut issue. So just basic. Make sure that you're minding those electrolytes, especially when you're switching over, when you're in the middle of adaptation and your body is under stress and you may be losing more minerals during that time. This is the next reason why I think people are failing, that they are not being consistent. They're having cheat meals. I don't really like to call them that, but they're like having free meals once a week, or they are using sweeteners in their coffee, and they're having things in their diet that continues to trigger them and put them back to craving a bunch of other foods. So a lot of people may be interested in doing the carnivore diet because there is a bit of food freedom that comes along with that for some people. There's also an emotional component as well, so you may do the carnivore diet even if you're totally strict and still deal with that emotional component. But for a lot of people, they do report, including myself, that a lot of those cravings are gone. You're gonna keep perpetuating cravings if you keep on having little things here and there, a handful of this, a bite of this, or a full cheat meal, or sweeteners. That is going to mess with your ability to adhere to this and eventually to not be able to stick with it and get any of the health benefits that come along with the carnivore diet. So, just be honest with yourself. Are you being consistent? Are you taking a bite of this or that along the way, and then wondering why you're still dealing with those cravings and ultimately not being successful on your carnivore diet? The next mistake I see that people are failing is that they have information overload. They have watched every YouTube video on the carnivore diet from every different person on the carnivore diet. They've listened to all the podcasts. They are listening to way too much information, and then they're getting confused. The thing is that a lot of people are just using themselves as the example, that they live in this echo chamber of their own personal experience. This is unfortunate, but it's happening. They're not working one-on-one with people. That is why I always refer people to Nutrition with Judy or Stephanie Keto Person. I will link them both below. But a lot of people are still struggling because they're just listening to too much advice. and they keep on switching and saying, well, I'm going to do a high fat approach. Well, no, I'm going to do a high protein approach. Well, no, I heard a podcast that said this. And then I heard a podcast that said that. You get where I'm going here? So you really have to decide who you're going to listen to and then stick to it. You have to stick to things for 30 days before you're really going to know if it works for you or not, unless it's just a total disaster, and then you can abandon ship. But I see this a lot of people, they are following different people and they're like, well, this doctor said this, and then this doctor said that, and then this person is doing this, and people are not giving you all the information. And then again, they may just be using themselves as this anecdotal example, and not working with other people and not seeing how a lot of the advice that they're giving plays out to a lot of people. I'm talking hundreds of people. They don't have a very large sample size on this advice that they're giving out. So very important that you decide what you're going to do and do it, and then kind of just put your blinders on and say, this is what I'm doing. If it doesn't work, then you can switch and do another approach, but give it time and don't overload yourself with information. The last thing I'm going to mention in this video, I'm sure I have forgotten some reasons why people fail, but the last thing is that you are constantly comparing yourself to other people. And that does help in the very beginning when you are really trying to get motivated to do this and give yourself some goals, and you see stories of other people healing and other people losing weight and achieving the things that you want to achieve, and listening to their stories. But then what I see happen is like a negative return with that, is that you're still comparing your journey, your healing, to someone else's that doesn't necessarily have your same medical history, your same, set of health problems, the same thing as medical history, but you're comparing yourself to somebody who you shouldn't be. And maybe on the surface, they look similar, but they're not telling you everything. Most people, when they're posting a before and after, or they're telling a success story, they don't tell you every little thing that went wrong. They don't tell you the bumps along the road. They don't tell you, they don't tell you everything. And so it's not a fair comparison. They may be younger than you. One big problem I see with carnivore influencers is people in their 20s giving people advice. When you're in your 20s, you have a different metabolism and physiology than you do when you're in your 40s. And so if you're looking at what someone in their 20s does and then comparing yourself in your 40s to this person and wondering why I'm eating what they're doing and I'm doing what they're doing and I'm like, this is a disaster for me, it's not working, that's a problem. So that is my biggest piece of advice. Decide what you're gonna do, stick to it, and don't measure your progress by looking at what other people are doing, because it's always going to be different. No one has the exact same journey as someone else. And don't be afraid to seek outside help, to seek advice, to seek some coaching. Again, Nutrition with Judy, Stephanie, Keto Person, my top 2. And I'm going to be doing some group coaching happening in January. So if that's something you're interested in, I'll put a link below this video so you can sign up for my newsletter. And I will be offering some group coaching come the new year. But that is it today, you guys. That is my list of why I think people are failing at the carnivore diet, that maybe some people are not really talking about these issues as much as they should be. And I never like for people to feel like they're doing something wrong or bad. I want to just keep encouraging people to do this deal, take it one day at a time, one step at a time, and be gentle with yourself. You really kind of have to put on blinders sometimes and just do you, and measure your progress on feeling better than you did yesterday or a month ago or a few months ago. And that is how you measure progress, not just the number on the scale or what's looking in the mirror or comparing yourself to someone else. So I hope that helps, guys. I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, click the bell, all the things. We'll talk again soon. Bye.